joining us today. It looks like we've got quite a few people on the call. Please make sure that you have checked in to the location by your area. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with closing out random assignment. I had a chat with Mike Baker this morning. He unfortunately is on another call for a new grant coming up. So he did say that congratulations, we did hit our enrollment goal. We learned some valuable lessons that will be able to be rolled into how WIOA works, WIOA. And there are many, many, many success stories that we're going to be able to share moving forward about how ATIM was working for the state of Illinois. Just a couple of other notes. Enrolled participants have to be done by the end of July. Training has to be completed by the end of August, and you have until the end of December to help your participants find a job. We have Beth Cruz on the call, so if you have any questions about IWDS, she is going to field those and talk to Jim Potts so that he can get those answers to you. He does happen to be having a day off today as well. So let's get rolling with our random end of random assignment, and we're going to have Hannah Bettish talk to us. I'm going to try and get this up here bigger so that she can show her slides. So thank you for joining us, Hannah. If you want to take over and move your slides forward, we'll let you do that.
Great, thanks, Dee. So good morning, everybody. As Dee mentioned, we are coming close to the end of enrollment, which is also going to mean the end of assignment because the program is ending along with random assignment. So I wanted to just go over a couple quick procedures for how to wrap this up. But before I get started, I wanted to first just say thank you for all of your hard work. The evaluation wouldn't exist without you. The program wouldn't exist without you. And we really appreciate all the effort it's taken to meet that target, which, as Dee mentioned, you've actually met. So we had 743 participants randomly assigned to date. And then we also had a heroic effort by all of you to make sure all of your paperwork was up to date and current. We had all the consent forms through the end of April. So we're in really good shape on our end. And before we get started on talking about ending random assignment, I just want to say thank you for all the work that you've done so far. So in terms of what's next for the evaluation, just to set the stage for the procedures we'll be talking about, the last day for random assignment is July 31st. So that's the last day somebody can be enrolled in ATIM and the last day that you'll actually be able to use the random assignment system. And then after that, as Dee mentioned, the last day for those participants to be in ATIM-funded training is August 31st. So those are the two dates that are coming up, but long term, we'll be continuing to follow people using administrative data for a little bit after that, and then there will be a final evaluation report in the spring of 2017. So in terms of what you need to know, first of all, random assignment is not going to be possible after July 31st. So the random assignment system will still be up, but you won't be able to use the random assignment function because nobody should be being enrolled, and so therefore nobody should be being randomly assigned. And then the other thing is that the random assignment system will be around for the whole month of August if you need to use it to check up on missing paperwork or anything, but August 31st, your access will be ending. So if there's anything that you need out of the random assignment system, make sure that you get that information during the month of August. And so in terms of the things that we wanted to go over in terms of what regions need to do, the big thing is, first of all, randomly assign anybody before July 31st. My understanding is that everything is kind of slowing down a little bit. So I don't know if there's anybody who's in the pipeline who hasn't made it in, but if there's anybody who still wants to enroll in ATIM who is eligible and you're interested, make sure that happens in the next week before July 31st. And then after that, what we'll need is for everybody to send in all of your remaining study paperwork by August 14th. So all of the remaining consent forms, which shouldn't be that many because we, again, did a big roundup of them, I think at the end of May. But make sure that you send in all of your remaining study paperwork by August 14th. And then as you're doing so, make sure, as usual, that the consent forms include the staff signature, the participant signature, and the date. Because that way, if everything is complete when we get it, we don't have to do as much back and forth tracking things down. The other thing I wanted to mention is that if you need any more FedEx mailers, you can let me know or let your liaison know so that you can get everything else in. So that's basically it. I mean, it's a fairly straightforward process. Again, the random assignment system will be shutting down, and anyone needs to be randomly assigned by July 31st and send in all your paperwork. But I think that's basically it. So other than saying a big thank you, I think that's it from SPR. So I'll stop there and see if anybody has questions. So feel free to go ahead and type those into the chat pod.
Cindy asked if there's anybody else whose sound is cutting out. Cindy, did you miss anything that you need to have repeated, or did you get the high points? We do have Hannah's handout in the file pod so that you can download that if there was anything that you missed there. Pat is asking, will we receive any information on the evaluation visits that occurred in the past?
Oh, that's a good question. Yes, we put together an interim implementation report covering those 2 rounds of site visits. We submitted that to DCEO, and then I think if DCEO has any edits, we'll go ahead and make those. And then I believe that should be available. But Beth, do you know anything about the timeline for that?
No, Mike hasn't said anything to me.
Okay. I'm very glad to hear that somebody wants to read that report. We'll be happy to share it. Any other questions?
Well, we want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. The one thing that we may need to double check on, and I wish Jim was on the call so that he could address this directly, when you are exiting people out of the program, one of the things that was noted is that case notes say that someone found a job, but they're not exiting the person out by saying that they got employment. So you need to be very careful about how you are addressing your exiting based on whether or not somebody has a job or not. So
See, I can't address this.
Okay.
Me and Jim had a long talk yesterday. Because of the way IWDS is set up, the caseworkers are their hands are kind of tied. Try, if at all possible, to get the information to fill out the employment history field. If the client or the employer, either one, is unwilling to give the information that we need to exit out a customer in that way, just make sure the case notes say what's going on, and then SPR, when they do their evaluation, they'll come up with those clients that actually exited with a job.
All right. So everybody got that? All right. Pat, I will make sure that Mike knows about asking for the reports for the boards. All right. Do we have any other questions? Paul's asking, so will we have to back the exits out and re-exit them? Beth, do you want to answer that?
No, I'm done with what I was doing. We've realized that there was just some glitches between ATIM and IWDS reporting. SPR will catch them. You need to go back through on the few that were programmed with Drew. There are 3, I think, that are still need to be re-exited, but that will show up on your reports that they need to be re-exited. And then, yeah, just hit withdrew or entered employment as it fits. Do not hit program ended.
All right. So L asks, do we exit in IWDS as withdrawn or program ended? So the answer is either withdrawn or employed.
Right. The program has not ended yet, so we cannot hit put any in program ended.
Okay, great. And Paul is typing, so we'll wait to see what Paul has to say here. Does anybody else have any other questions? Do we need to go to the dashboard? I noticed there's some new things since the last time I was in with some of the reports, so they look great. The numbers look really good. And Paul may be typing someplace else. It just shows that the keyboard's working. All right. Is everybody having luck with finding their participants' jobs? Do you need any assistance with trying to market your job seekers? Any suggestions for the rest of the group about how that might be accomplished a little bit better? If you've got any suggestions for anybody. Okay, clarification question. If a person is exited on March 1st, they get employment on March 15th, but we have not communicated since March 1st. We are processing exit in July. Do we exit them to employment at exit or withdrawn?
Look back on the last active service, and that's going to tell you your date, and if the last active service is March 1st, then you have to withdraw them, and SPR will catch this at the end.
I understand exit to be employed at exit, not employment in the quarter.
Exactly.
All right. And this is not what Beth Cruz is instructing us. That is Beth talking.
There was a problem with case notes because we were letting clients, because we weren't using the same-day service, so we were actually servicing these clients, but then when we went to exit them, the exit date was going back 6 months. That was another problem entirely, and we could fix some of those, and we did. But no, if they don't have a job on the date that they're exited, then we can't put them in entered employment.
All right. Larry is saying state budget is causing delay or cancellation of work experience and OJTs. Is that because of the payout issue? And Paul is typing again.
Was Larry making a statement, or is that a question?
That's what I'm not sure, because there is no punctuation at the end of it. Statement. Okay.
I know the governor just had a press conference, but I haven't heard what he said, so hopefully this budget stuff will end soon, I hope.
Yeah, that would be nice. So if they are not working on the date of exit, it would be withdrawn. If you see someone that had employment 5 months ago, we would backdate it to that date and request exit assistance. Beth?
I'm trying to figure out how to answer this.
Okay.
No, we don't want to do any backdating. We just want to make sure that the employment history is filled out the best as it can. We've had multiple exits where the caseworker has stated that the client had a job, but due to IWDS, which is what I just found out yesterday, due to the regulations put on the system in IWDS, they have to have that wage information, the SOC code, the NAICS code. A lot of times we're not getting that information, so we cannot enter them in employment. We have to withdraw them. Once again, SPR, when they do their end evaluation, they will catch these instances, and it will be reported in the final report. As it stands now, we have several people that have been withdrawn that actually entered employment. We can't fix it. We can't fix it now because of the IWDS system, and this is it's different for Adam. We do not backdate anybody. We need to keep our case notes active, and if the client exits with a job, we want to try our best to be able to enter them as a job, but if not, then we will be forced to enter them with withdrawn, and the final outcomes will be reflected in the end at SPR. Does that help?
Paul is still typing, so.
A lot of the issues came across is because the caseworkers have more access to employment records than I do. I purely have to go by the IWDS screen, and if there's not an exit date and that there's wages back, of course the wages only go back to December 14 at this point, to me it looks like there was people with jobs. There's some that we found out that they actually didn't have a job, and this is where the caseworkers, it's important that they document in their case notes the reality of what's going on if they're not able to get the employment information from the client.
All right. All right. So we, I don't see anybody else typing right now. Do we have any additional questions from the audience that we need to talk about that Hannah or Beth might be able to answer for you? And I will, for Pat, I will get in touch with Mike to see if he can share those reports with you for your board meetings. If you did not already check in by area, please make sure that you do that. And all right, so now we can see what Paul had been typing. I had 1 exited, 2 withdrawn on 3/24/15, no communication since then. IWDS shows employment started on 3/27. I was instructed to exit him to employment at exit, so I need to back this one out and re-exit it to withdrawn, correct?
Paul, don't do anything on that one. I know Mike and Jim were talking about something. If somebody, you had a client that came in on Friday, but they were starting a job on Monday, there was a different scenario. So don't do anything with that. Send me a message with the name, and I'll look into that tomorrow when Jim and Mike are both here.
All right. And Beth, is it customary to wait until a person passes their probationary time frame before we exit them? Therefore, they may have obtained employment but not retained employment. This could be reason for an appeared data lag. And this is Sarah in Elwea 2.
Exactly. And yeah, it's, one of them things where if the caseworker can document, yeah, they got a job, but they only had it. We have several of those. They kept it for 1 day or 1 week. You put that in the case notes, and then it reflects the accurate status of the client.
All right. Right. Okay. And Cindy is asking, should we be entering in IWDS follow-up services? And follow-up services, Cindy, may mean the transportation or more additional job search or things like that. Is that what you're referring to, Cindy? And
If
then
a
she
customer
says,
comes
like
in
they
and
would
you
from
have,
field participants.
yeah, if they come in and you have a one-on-one with the caseworker, yeah, you definitely want to put that as a same-day service, because that keeps the active status going and moves their exit date up.
Okay. And Mike Pierman is asking, if an applicant had a bachelor's degree, could we waive, I think he meant waive, the TABE for that individual?
I do not know the answer to that, but I am writing it down to ask Jim.
Okay.
I'm not going to say anything, yeah. Oh, I don't know.
So Jim or Beth will send you an email tomorrow, Mike, to let you know the answer to that. And, all right. Hannah, do you have any last-minute things that you would like to say?
I don't think so. I just encourage folks to, if you have any questions, get in touch with me or your site liaison. But otherwise, I think this should end fairly smoothly, and we just want to thank you for all your hard work.
And Hannah, would you like to type your email into the chat pod so that they can copy it in case they do have any questions?
Yes, it's up on the screen on the slides, but let me type it into the chat pod as well.
And Beth, would you like to type your email and or Jim's just in case they want to copy it from there as well?
And I want to tell anybody, if they have any more questions about a client, feel free to contact me and we'll talk about it.
All right. All right. So I don't see anybody else typing right now. If you do have any additional questions, please contact Hannah or Beth or Jim, and we will be back with you. We'll let you know if we're going to have a technical assistance again in 2 weeks. And if Mike has any updates, I'm sure he will email all of you. So thank you very much for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day. We will post